You were made for this. When Mom carried you in her womb and prayed fervently for hours, we knew you'd be something great. You were made for this. The day they brought you home swaddled in your blanket, you commanded attention even then. You were made for this. The way you fall asleep in my arms while I serenaded you with every praise and worship song I knew, you were made for this. All the times I had a near-death experience because I dropped you, but you became smarter because of it, you were made for this. When I took you outside of church to feed you Vienna sausages from the can, and you forced all the kids to take some, you were made for this. Unforgettable choir moments we all have because you insisted, even at 2 years old, to direct everyone to their place and test the mic to be sure it was working. You were made for this. All the times you got scolded because you thought you were the teacher and told everyone else boldly what they should be doing, you were made for this. When Jackie and Jordan came along, you didn't feel a bit threatened by them, but you were so confident in who you were. It's almost like you knew you'd be sending them on errands for you one day. You were made for this. The way you walked around singing Make Me a Servant because it was your favorite song, but didn't realize that you were speaking that very characteristic into your own life. You were made for this. Your understanding of God's word and your ability to apply it to your 8-year-old life was more than enough confirmation that you were made for this. The unconditional love you showed me when I set less than a perfect example for you, and with a sincere, concerned heart you told me in your own words that my actions weren't right, you were made for this. You opened yourself up to people who would hurt you time and time again, extending forgiveness and acting with respect, especially toward Miss Belkin. You were made for this. I've always admired the compassion and love you have for people and your undeniable gift with gab. You were made for this. Your desire to dwell in God's presence, which always leads to a praise and worship session that carries on until the wee hours of the morning, you were made for this. Selfless acts of service are second nature, and you have really become the servant you asked to be. You were made for this. You were the only high schooler I've ever met that knew without a doubt you wanted to go on mission trips and commit your life to God. You were made for this. You stood behind every decision you've made about what you were going to do after high school, even when we thought you were crazy. I applaud you for that. You were made for this. Although you're leaving next Friday and we're sad, we know that you're fulfilling your God-given purpose, and it makes it a little easier knowing that you were made for this. You were made to tell the world about a man who saves and loves you more than we ever could. You were made to minister to broken hearts and speak life into dead situations. You were made for loving God and sharing his love with people. You are fearfully and wonderfully made, beautiful in our eyes and his. You were made to boldly proclaim the gospel of Jesus Christ and bring many people to him. Remember this: when things aren't going your way, listen to God's leading and don't give up, because you were made for this. When you're hurting and feel you have nothing left to give, press into God's presence, because you were made for this. The road won't always be easy, and the load you may have to carry won't always be light, but cast all your cares on God because he cares for you. You were made for this. The Lord is your refuge, your strong tower, impenetrable rock, and your redeemer. You were made for this. When you rise and when you lay down to sleep, know that your work is not in vain, and that you will be rewarded for diligently seeking God. You were made for this. We all love you and are proud of the woman you have become, and although we want to keep you with us, always know without question that you were made for this.